Sydney is on track for commuter chaos, with the entire rail network to shut down from Friday till early Sunday morning. The industrial action was due to begin tomorrow night, but the unions agreed to delay it till Friday because of the Pearl Jam concert.
It comes amid a major breakdown in negotiations between the union and the government over a new pay deal and 24-hour services. Let's go straight to Miles Holbrook Walk in Sydney. Good morning, Miles. Why did negotiations break down?
Well, Steph, they're largely to do with what the union and the government have a view on around 24-hour services. Now, last weekend services did run for 24 hours across Sydney's train network. However, they weren't able to do so this weekend, according to the New South Wales government. The union says that's unacceptable, and as a result, they are going to take industrial action. Now, we did see a narrow avoiding of that action affecting Thursday evening, which, as you note right off the top, would have impacted thousands of people due to go to a Pearl Jam concert. That action has been avoided for Thursday night and will now commence in the very early hours of Friday morning, around 3 or 4 a.m. The union, though, remaining resolute on taking the industrial action for Friday, Saturday and into Sunday morning. They say the idea of 24-hour transport across the train network is achievable.
We saw last weekend the government run 24-hour public transport in Sydney very successfully. We see really no reason why it can't do so again this weekend, and the announcement by the Transport Minister, I think, shocked us as much as it shocked everyone yesterday afternoon.
So that's the union's argument there. The government says that took incredible planning to make that weekend work. They offered a concession of having one train line remain 24/7 over the weekend, but the vast majority would remain to their usual servicing, and saying that you can't simply tinker with the way the train network works. Here is what Joe Haylen told News Breakfast just a few moments ago.
The timetable and our rail system is not a plaything. It is not a toy train set that you can tinker with and change overnight. It is a 130-year-old, big, complex network that moves over 1 million people each and every day. We can't jeopardise the maintenance on our system for a service that very few people are using in the middle of the night, jeopardising the services that people need in the middle of the day.
So this impasse means that at the moment, on Friday, Saturday and very early on Sunday, no trains are going to be running across the city, as well as a few services also impacted from Newcastle to the Illawarra as well during this period. Now, what's worth noting is that the Metro, which could have been an alternative to some of the affected commuters, is also undergoing scheduled maintenance over the weekend. So this problem now, that is no longer a solution to this problem that's facing commuters. The government has talked about the idea of using more buses and ferries to help people, especially children, get to school and commuters get to and from work. There is also this other issue that is kind of the elephant in the room with all of this, which is that the union and government are worlds apart on pay agreements. The government's offering the union a 9.5% increase over 3 years. The union wants 32% over 4 years. So you can see just a massive gulf here. And really, until there is a solution on that, it does seem as though this kind of action could become an ongoing headache for the government and indeed commuters. So an 11th hour deal may need to be reached. There is more time now, given that it's been pushed out to Friday morning for this strike, Steph, but time is certainly ticking.
It certainly is. Here's hoping for a deal for all those commuters out there. Thank you very much for the update, Miles Holbrook Walk.
2 young Melbourne women remain on life support in hospitals in Thailand after falling ill as part of a suspected mass methanol poisoning in Laos. The incident has left at least 2 people dead, with the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirming 2 young women in their early 20s died last week. As Southeast Asia correspondent Lauren Day reports from Bangkok.
Well, this must just be an intensely anxious wait for the families of these 2 young women. One who's in hospital here in Bangkok, the other about 8 hours north up in Udon Thani, both with their families by their bedsides, just waiting and hoping that they'll wake up. We understand that both women are still in a critical condition after drinking what's believed to be alcohol laced with methanol, which has left 2 other people dead and about 10 gravely ill. Of course, methanol is a clear liquid chemical that's often used, particularly in Southeast Asian countries, deliberately but illegally as a cheaper substitute for ethanol. But even a small amount can be deadly. Just as little as a shot can kill people, and that's what we've seen this week. Now, Holly Bowles and Bianca Jones were on a gap year adventure through Asia, and looking at their social media accounts, it looks like they were having the trip of a lifetime. It was the kind of dream trip that so many young Australians take after they graduate school. But of course, that dream has obviously turned into a nightmare last week in Vung Vien. I spoke with the hostel owner at the backpackers where they were staying, and he has denied speculation on social media that it was the drinks served at his bar that were responsible. He says the girls were out drinking at a number of other bars around town, and his staff took them to the hospital after they failed to check out last Wednesday morning. Of course, we know that their conditions deteriorated significantly. They were then transferred to a bigger hospital in Vientiane, the capital of Laos, and then of course on to Thailand, where they remain on life support. And now we know that their families have also travelled to Thailand to support the girls and of course each other through what can only be described as a nightmare scenario.
Southeast Asia correspondent Lauren Day with that update. We're now checking other stories making news, and there's breaking news out of Melbourne this morning where 2 men have been charged over the disappearance of Brunswick woman Isla Bell. The 19-year-old hasn't been seen since October the 4th. Detectives have discovered what are believed to be human remains in Dandenong in Melbourne's southeast, and a 53-year-old man has been charged with murder. A separate man has also been charged with the offence of assisting offender.
Hardware behemoth Bunnings has been found to have breached the privacy of hundreds of thousands of Australians. The Privacy Commissioner's landmark ruling says Bunnings used facial recognition technology on customers without properly gaining consent. Bunnings says the technology was used to protect people from crime.
The Russian government claims Ukraine has fired US-supplied long-range missiles into the country, signalling a significant development for the war. Moscow says Ukraine hit Russia's Bryansk region, southwest of Moscow, using ATACMS missiles, though no casualties have been reported. Reports yesterday confirmed US President Joe Biden had given approval to Ukraine to use the American-made missiles to strike inside Russia.
The Minerals Council has slammed the government's decision to not join a nuclear power pact put forward by its AUKUS allies early this week, calling it outdated thinking. It comes after Defence Minister Richard Marles told Parliament Australia would not join with the US and UK in developing non-military nuclear projects.
Women's safety advocates are calling for criminalisation of doxxing, a domestic violence issue they say has been largely overlooked. Doxxing refers to the practice of maliciously releasing personal information online. The Australian government aims to criminalise the practice as part of broader privacy reform, but does not yet have the support of the opposition or the Greens.
The Australian National Dictionary has crowned Colesworth as its word of the year, highlighting the nation's growing frustration with the supermarket duopoly. The term is a blend of Coles and Woolworths and has increased in popularity, apparently, during Australia's cost of living crisis, though Coles CEO Leah Weckert was unaware of this.
Are you familiar with the term Colesworth?
I'm not. I don't know whether or not I've ever used Colesworth before.
I haven't. Maybe I will now. It's in the dictionary, so
Perhaps.
why not?
Fair enough.